New world record just dropped. Sub 2 hour marathon. However, unlike some other outlets, some other sources, they may not be giving you these niche highlights. I have 5 points. And the first one, which isn't super niche, it's that two people had finished sub 2. Some outlets may be recognizing the first runner as breaking the sub 2 hour barrier. However, if you see the guy coming in the background, he also finishes sub 2. And I'll let him finish. Boom. They finish 19 or 159.30 and 159.41 respectively. What does this say about the 2 hour barrier? It says that it can be broken, not just by one person, but by two people in the same race. Same race. However, let's get a little more nuanced here. If one person can pace the entire time, and if two people are capable of a sub 2 hour projection or race, then they can both pace off each other, and that's exactly what they did throughout this entire race. So at the 152 mark, saw pacing off runner behind him, and eventually a gap does separate. However, the guy who places in second hangs on just enough to break sub 2 hour. So I think this speaks to, if there was a runner before this who was capable of a 2 hour marathon, they may not have had someone else who is capable, because them both having the capacity to race sub 2 hours meant that they could pace off each other. And that is slightly complicated, because it's like, oh, well, okay, if one of them has the capability to do that, then they're capable of it. So it's kind of like, what are you even saying? However, I think it makes total sense. If you have the capability, the capacity to do it, like Eliud Kipchoge may have had the capacity to break 2 hours legally if he had someone else who had the capacity to do it and who pushed him the entire race, which is kind of what the car represented in his sub 2 hour clocking. And another big storyline, the second point I want to get at here, is that if you notice right here, this athlete, this runner, okay, he looks like a great athlete, great long distance runner, which he is. But there's something that you may not know. This is his marathon debut. He's never run a marathon, legal, top level marathon, in his entire life. So how in the world did he break sub 2? Well, saying that is a little disingenuous, because he's a high level track athlete, high level long distance track athlete. So what is this point? This point is saying, if you're a high level long distance track athlete, there may be certain skills and certain things that are transferable to even longer distance running, like marathon running. If you're a 5K guy, maybe you could be an amazing marathon runner. And I'm not saying, oh, Jakob Ingebrigtsen and the likes of them, who are great track and field long distance runners, should switch over to the marathon. I honestly think that'd be a little silly, but I think it showcases how those runners may have a chance to break the 2 hour barrier. I'm not saying that as a fact. I'm kind of just I don't know. It's his marathon debut, but it was his marathon debut in London. And here's where I'm getting at my third point. This I want you to see, get a feel for the course. So as they're running through London, this is London. It's a highly technical race rather than a course that is very friendly to PRs, to chasing records. Unlike courses such as Berlin or Chicago, where those courses are a lot less technical, where you don't need to evaluate how you're going to pace certain sections and so on. So their ability to go sub 2 hour on this course suggests it makes it seem possible that they could go 159, sub 159, maybe. And the point I had earlier about it being his marathon debut, that also suggests maybe he could go 159. I think this race and the fact that both of these runners went 159 means that there might be a whole lot in store for marathon running in the future. Some times that may have seemed unfathomable in the past. So, and my fourth point is that they kind of dismantled this aura, I would say, around Eliud Kipchoge, because he held the unofficial world record for the marathon for a long while now. And he's been the public face, I would say, maybe not in the running community, but he's definitely been the face of the marathon ever since that event, because it drew so much attention to the sport of marathon running that he became the guy. Oh, like Eliud Kipchoge. Oh my gosh, he's that guy. He's the marathon runner guy. But Sebastian Shaw maybe, like, I think there are a lot of underground East African long distance runners, and they're just incredible, incredible runners, but they don't get a lot of shine or publicity because, let me be honest here, watching a 2 hour marathon is a little boring. However, if you can get these two runners to duke it out for 2 hours, and that replicates high stakes of any other sport, perhaps this may draw more attention to the sport of marathon running. I mean, it's ridiculous how close they were throughout this entire race. Let me go back to where he starts separating maybe around 154. Well, no, not even that. We start separating around 155. And I need to go back to the pacing. What happened here? And for my non-runners, I'll explain what it means, but I assume most people know. They negative split the race. The first half of the race was run slower than the second half of the race. And if you're a runner, you know how ridiculous that sounds. You negative split the world record marathon to go sub 2 hours. What type of ungodly pacing is that? And I'm not saying that's bad pacing. I'm just saying that's just freakish athleticism to go out half marathon and run slower than your second half marathon. It's ridiculous. These guys are insane athletes by far, bar none. And from the points I just laid out, there's so much potential in the future of marathon running. If these two guys can go sub 2, how fast can we go? How far can they push this race sub 2? Because, okay, let's go back. Oh, sub 4 minute in the mile. Robert Bannister, everyone was like, oh, well, honestly, I wasn't there, but people say that it seemed impossible. There are certain athletic feats that seem impossible because they just haven't been achieved yet. And when they are achieved, when the sub 4 mile barrier was broken, weeks later, not even months later, the record kept getting broken. It kept getting lowered. People kept going sub 4. And from that point on, sub 4 is just, okay, you run sub 4. And that's a great accomplishment still. But there's something to be said about accomplishing something so magnificent, so impressive that you pull everyone up with you. You pull every other runner to a higher level. And I think that's exactly what this race did. So to end this video off, I'm going to say these two runners undoubtedly have established themselves in the Marathon Hall of Fame, and it's highly likely that other runners will break the sub 2 hour barrier. And I'm honestly saying, this is my take, this is my guess, don't take it as law. I'm saying in the next 6 months, this may seem crazy, at least, is on the tip of my tongue. I don't even want to say it because it seems so ambitious, so out there. At least 2 other athletes will break the sub 2. Because these guys just showcased it's possible. And if they line up against some different, another competitor, and they get to race and pace off each other, I mean, this sport will be changed. And I honestly can't wait to see it. It's exciting.